Today in our 2016 Lincoln MKX, we're going to be taking a look at the Roadmaster EZ4 baseplate kit with removable arms, part number RM-5244447-4. So here's what our baseplate looks like fully installed, and it's going to allow us to tow our vehicle behind a motorhome, RV, or any other coach-style vehicle. It features an easy mount bracket, and they're going to be easy to install and remove. If we come to our pull ring here and we pull the ring back towards away from the vehicle, we can twist our bracket and it'll slide right out. Now they're just as easy to install. If we push our bracket all the way forward so that the pin is resting against our tube, then we can turn it and the pin will release and lock it into place. There's plenty of room to mount all of your electrical connections. Comes with a bracket to mount your plug as well as your breakaway switch, and it has built-in safety chain loops. It does feature a steel construction and a nice black powder coat finish, but most of our tow bar base plate is going to be behind our bumper, hidden, and since it is a custom application, there's no welding, but there is some minor trimming you may need to do on your fascia. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's go ahead and show you how we get it installed. To begin our installation, we're going to need to remove our fascia. So we're going to come underneath our hood here, and over our radiator cover right here, we're going to take out 19 of these push pin plastic fasteners. Just take a flathead screwdriver, come up underneath the middle section, and then pop the whole clip out. With all the fasteners removed, we're going to pull off our panel and set it aside. Each side of our headlight here, if we look on top, we're going to have two Torx screws in top, and we're using a T25 to remove those screws. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side as well. Now on the bumper here, we're going to have three 10mm fasteners holding it on each side. I'm going to be using a 10mm socket to remove them. There are several 10mm bolts, but if you look on the front of our grill here, you'll see the tab going in. Those are the ones we're going to need to remove, and we're going to go to the other side and remove those as well. If we come over to our wheel well, we're going to have 6 plastic push pin fasteners right on the edge here. There's going to be 5 in a row going down the side, and then if you come up top, there's going to be one right here just past where our fender meets, our fascia. Again, I'm going to be taking a flathead screwdriver, I'm going to pop out the center, and then prying underneath the bottom section, and it'll release the clip. Now we're going to repeat that process for the other remaining 5 and the other 6 on the other side as well. Underneath our vehicle here, on the front where our splash guard is, right up here, we're going to have 9 5.5mm bolts that are holding our splash shield on. We're going to have 7 on each side going around the perimeter, and we're going to have 2 tucked up towards our wheel here. We're going to be using a 5.5mm socket to remove these. And we're going to repeat that and remove all the fasteners on both sides. Now we're also going to have 1 push pin fastener on each side, and again, just going to pry out the center section and then come underneath and grab the bottom and it'll release the clip. Now we're going to do the same thing for the other clip on the other side. Now we're going to have 2 more screws that we're going to need to remove on each side, and I'm going to be using a T25 Torx bit to remove those. Now we're going to do the same thing for the 2 screws on the other side as well. We'll remove this panel and we'll set it aside for later. We're going to come to our plastic trim here right by our tire, and we're going to gently start pulling it away, releasing the clips. And we don't need to take it all the way off, we just need to give ourselves enough room to about here so we can get behind our fascia, pulling our fender liner back. Now there's going to be 3 bolts that we're going to have to remove on the inside here. And they're going to be 8mm heads on the bolts. Here's one of the bolts here, and if we go farther forward and farther up, we're going to see the other two. Now I'm going to be using an 8mm socket to remove these 3 bolts. Easiest way I found is if you take a small 1/4 inch ratchet, you can get in there and you have enough room to make contact and loosen up the bolts. With the 3 bolts removed on the driver's side, we're going to go over to the passenger side and remove those as well. Here on our driver's side, we're going to have one connector that we're going to need to disconnect before we pull our fascia off. It's going to be right here, right behind our wheel well cover, right in front of the left tire. Now we're just going to push in on that tab, then we'll release our connector, and then we'll be ready to pull our fascia off. If we come to the top of our bumper here, where we remove those 2 Torx bits right above our headlight, we're going to pull our chrome trim, releasing it from those alignment tabs, and now we're going to grab our fascia right here at the seam and the chrome trim up top, and we're going to pull straight down, releasing the clips holding it against our fender. And with one side disconnected, we're going to go to the other side and do that as well. Now with an extra set of hands, we're going to gently start pulling on the fascia away from the vehicle, releasing the rest of the clips. Here on the passenger side, we actually have a washer fluid line that's going to run from our tank onto our bumper. So I just took a pair of vice grips right here and I blocked off my hose. So I'm going to disconnect my hose here. Now there's going to be 2 more connectors here on the driver's side that we couldn't see before. Right here and right here. And we're just going to disconnect those as well, pushing in on the tab and releasing the connector. Now with everything disconnected, we're going to remove our fascia and we're going to put it aside for safekeeping. With our fascia removed, we're going to come right in the middle of our vehicle. We're going to look right here. This is our ambient temperature sensor. Now we're going to need to remove this. And to do that, we're going to take a flathead screwdriver and we're going to get behind the clip that it's on and we're going to pry the clip out. If we come right below our sensor, we're going to have another clip holding it in place. We're going to go ahead and remove that clip as well. Now we're going to need to relocate our ambient temperature sensor. And we're going to mount it right here, just below the factory point. But since we're only going to be using one hole to mount our clip on, I'm going to go ahead and cut off this secondary clip here, which is the smaller one. Then I'm going to push my sensor into place. Now for a little bit of added security, I'm going to go ahead and put a zip tie around it as well to make sure it holds its place securely. If we come to our driver's side, we're going to have a wire running down the front of our bumper here. Now if we go ahead and remove the clip that's holding this wire in right here, take a flathead screwdriver and pop it out. And we're going to remove the clip up top as well. Now we're going to be removing the ear right here that was holding our wire loom on. We're going to be cutting that tab off. And then if we move up, we're going to be removing this section of plastic right here. We're going to be making a cut just like that. And all of this is going to be removed. Now I'm going to be using a rotary tool to cut this section out. Now you can use whatever you have available, a pair of tin snips, die grinder, anything like that. Just want to be careful not to cut into any wires and not gouge into your bumper. Now on the passenger side, we're going to make an additional cut as well. We don't have any wire loom mounts or anything, so we're just going to make a straight cut going down. And we're going to be cutting off all of this section right here. Now on our driver's side, here are our louver housing. We're going to make a few marks just so I can show you where we're going to need to cut. If we come to the bottom corner here, we're going to go straight across just like that. And then if we come to the top corner, we're going to make another cut going straight across. And finally, we're going to come down and we're going to cut this ear off right here. So this ear, as well as all of this section here, is going to be cut out. Here on our passenger side, I marked out what we're going to need to cut. Just going to make 2 straight lines, and this center section is going to be cut out. We're going to come to our louvers here on each side. We're going to take the bottom one and we're going to tilt it in, and we're going to gently pull and kind of twist it away from the center, which should help it release it from the track. Just like that. We're going to pull that one out, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now if we move one louver up, we're going to fold these towards the ground so that the honeycomb is facing up, and we're going to grab it and we're going to do the same thing, twisting it slightly and pulling until it pops out. And we're going to remove the second one from the bottom as well. Now we're not going to be reinstalling these, but we are going to hold on to these just in case we ever take our brackets off. We can go ahead and replace them. Now on both sides of our bumper here, we're going to have 2 bolts holding our radiator support up. And we're going to remove these 2 bolts, and I'm going to be using a 10mm socket to do so. If we come underneath our bumper right where we just dropped our core support, and we look on the bottom on our bracket right here, we're going to see an existing hole on the bottom and on top as well. Now I'm going to be taking a 1/2-inch drill bit. I'm going to be drilling through that existing hole all the way through my bracket, coming out up top. Now you can just push the bracket that we just dropped down our core support out of the way so you can get a nice straight angle. And we're going to repeat the same process on the passenger side as well. Now we're going to take our shim plates here and we're going to set them on top of our bumper beam. Now there is 2 different plates. You just want to make sure that when you put them on, you want the curve to be going towards the ground and you want it to follow the contours of the bumper beam. And then we're going to take our U-bolts and going around our beam and through our bracket, we're going to place it on just like that. And we're going to repeat the same process on the passenger side. Now we can take our main support beam here and we're going to go underneath our U-bolts. We're going to line up the 2 holes here, making sure that the bottom piece is underneath where we just drilled. Now we're going to take our locking nuts. Now the kit does come with locking nuts and regular nuts, and the way we're going to know that they're locking nuts is there's going to be a dimple on either side of the nut. We're going to put them loosely in place on our U-bolts just so we don't have to worry about our brace falling down. Now with this side in place, we're going to repeat the same process on the passenger side. Now if we come to our lower brace right here, we're going to take our flat washer, we're going to put it on top, and we're going to take our 1/2-inch bolt, and coming from the top, we're going to go down through our bracket. And then underneath, we're going to follow it up with a lock washer. And then finally, a 1/2-inch nut. Now that we have this side done, we're going to go over to the driver's side and repeat the same process. Now before we snug down and torque all of our bolts, I'm going to apply a little bit of red thread locker. You can pick some up on our website using LT37420. Just going to put a little bit on the threads, on every bolt. We're just going to come back and snug up all our hardware. Now we're going to come back and we're going to torque all of our hardware to the specified amount in the instructions. With everything in place and torqued down, I'm going to go ahead and raise my core support back up and bolt it back in place. With our fascia removed, if you are going to be running a breakaway switch and running wires, now would be a good time to do it. Now I took a few measurements, and our connector for our electrical side is going to be right in this general area, and our airline fitting is going to be right around here. Now our safety chain loops are going to be right about here, so I'm going to take this bottom bar here and our connectors out, having this open section be fully open at that point. Now I'm just going to be using a rotary tool, and again I'm just going to be cutting around the edge to open up this part of the grill right there. So I just cut this section out of our grill, and then I came back and I sanded all the edges down to give it a nice cleaner look. We're going to be putting our fascia back on, and just remember to line everything up, connect any electrical connections that you took loose, as well as the washer fluid hose. So here's what our fascia looks like, fully trimmed and everything back in place. Now all we have to do is put all our hardware back and tighten everything back up. Now all we need to do is hook up our tow bar and we're ready to hit the road. And that'll finish up the look at the Roadmaster EZ4 base plate kit with removable arms, part number RM-524447-4 on our 2016 Lincoln MKX.